You might have noticed data structures in your main menu on Make before, but you have no idea what they are. Well, let's tackle this in this lesson. Before we dive into actual examples of how data structures can be used within Make, let's stop for a minute and talk about why you should care about data structures. What are they good for? Well, let's take a look at the official definition from Make first. A data structure is a document that describes in detail the format of the data being transferred to Make. Based on this document, the scenario editor is able to figure out which modules returns or receives which kind of data. The data structure documents are most commonly used for serializing and parsing data formats such as JSON, XML, CSV, and others. We can expand a bit on this definition and let's look at some of the benefits which data structures bring to the table. Data structures allow you to specify the structure or format of data which is flowing through your Make scenarios. Depending on the use case, data structures can be used to correctly parse incoming data or to correctly compile output data in your modules. Within webhooks, custom webhook module, for example, you can even use a data structure as a form of validation. One of the main benefits is that you can define a data structure once and then you can reuse it across multiple modules and scenarios within Make, essentially setting a single source of truth about the structure of certain chunks of data which you frequently work with. Also keep in mind that while some of the modules require you to use a data structure, for example, the CSV Create CSV Advanced module, or it may be also optional for other modules like the JSON Parse JSON module. Let's set up a sample scenario by adding the HTTP module to make a request and get our sample data. Sometimes this happens, the apps are not loading, so you have to close it and then try again, and then the apps are actually properly filtering. And using a make a request get method, turning on the parse response, and we also want to turn on the evaluate all states so we know if there's an error, getting the data once and then checking what the output looks like. Here's our output array: Russia, country area in kilometers, country area in square kilometers, and so on. And now we want to add that to a data store, adding and replacing records. So first we have to create a data store. What data stores are, we will get to that in a second. They are basically very fast internal databases of Make. We give that data store name, country, areas, and now we can create a data structure. Add that one here, and we also name that country areas and specify the items. We have the country name like this. Can be text, and you can define whether it should be required or not, or if it's multi-line or not, and we can add more items to it. So the next one is area in kilometers 2, so the size of that country, and this one is number type. So we change the type of this one to number, and we can also specify if it should be required or not. You can even go a lot deeper, like having a collection or an array here, and then having sub items and so on. So you can go very detailed. Like if I say, okay, the sub item is a collection, then I can add more items in here, and that makes it very complex. So the easiest method actually is to use the generator to create a data structure. So if I add this one more time, you have this generate button over here, and that allows you to either paste JSON, XML, form data, or a query string, and then Make will create the data structure for you. We will look into this in a second. So let me create that data store first, and then it will show you the fields that you have created that you can easily map from your previous module. Of course, we want to split it up first. So we need the iterator because we want to work with them individually with the countries. So we iterate the data here and make it beautiful. And then we can select the country and the area in square kilometers. And the key, it will automatically set that one, or we can set our own unique key for this one. Now, if we run this, we get 10 new records inside our data store, and it worked like this. So now we have the records with the area in square kilometers, country name. Now, there are more places where you can use the data structure. For example, inside a webhook, we can use the data structure. And let's try to set this up once. by copying the address here to clipboard, then using a make a request module to send the data to that data store, to that webhook, sorry, and using the URL, using a post method, body raw content application JSON, and then writing up the content for a data structure. So we had country name, and then we put in the name like this. And then we have area in square kilometers, and that is number type. So we leave out the quotation marks. Now this will be our request content, and let's run this once. And it will call the webhook 10 times. So let's check what we receive over here. Process existing. We are getting this over here, country name, area in square kilometers. Because we split it up, it sends it one by one. And now trying the next one, it actually sends this one, and so on. Now for the webhook, you can also specify a data structure by going to edit and then showing the advanced settings. And here you have the possibility to add a data structure. And that means it will validate the input or the input data. And if it's different, then it will simply reject it, and it will not even trigger your make scenario, and therefore also not consume any operations. If I set this to country areas now, save, okay, and then let it run once, list for new, let it to wait for test data. And then I will add one additional parameter here, can be anything like the date, which will change the data structure, something. And then I give it the value else. And now I can run this one more time. Now it still worked because the data got accepted and it's arriving on the webhook, because there's one single setting that we have to update in order to make it strict. And that is inside the data structure, so we can edit it here. And then at the very bottom, you have the setting for strict yes or no. By default, it's no. If you turn it to yes, it will be compared to the structure of the payload that you receive, and it will be rejected if it's not the same. So save this one, save again, press OK, save, run once, listen for new. And now to make it actually fail, we also have to tick the show advanced settings, evaluate all states as errors here. Otherwise, we will not see an error here. And we can also disable the data store route because we don't need it for testing now, and run this once. And now we're getting a 400 bad request here because the data structure is not equal. So right now the webhook, it's still running because I turned it on, but the payload was different. So it was simply rejected and it did not even arrive here and not consume any operations. Let's check out some more examples how we can use the data structure. Let's disable that one and add another one, and that is the JSON. We can use JSON aggregate to JSON, for example, and using a data structure here, using the iterator as the source module, and then selecting data structure. No, we can simply use the exact same data structure that we've used for the webhook already, as well as for the data store, with country name and also the area in square kilometers, and then simply run this once. Let me organize it. And we would get the following output: proper JSON based on the input. And lastly, we can also use it inside a CSV module. So CSV, create CSV advanced, then connect that to our router, and using the iterator as the source again, and choosing the data structure, we can use the exact same one here with country name and country area size. And now we can run this one more time to get the CSV output of our data. And here's the long text string, the CSV output of our area country data. Now, one more thing, you can also pre-filter, of course. So I can put in a filter here and say only if the area is higher than 500,000 square kilometers, I want to do this. So only if area in kilometers is greater than 500,000 square kilometers, I want to add this data, ignore the warnings, save, and run this once. Now we're getting a shorter list. Not all countries are in there anymore. Actually, I forgot a 0. So it's not 500,000, but it's 5 million. So let's add one more 0 here and run this one more time. And we got a shorter list of countries now with all of the countries that are bigger than 5 million square kilometers. I hope that helped you understand what data structures are and that they're super helpful in rejecting data from a webhook or using them in data stores or using them to aggregate data. And it will give you the specific fields based on the data structure that you have defined. Now, one more try. If we have this JSON data and now I want to create a new data structure, by adding a new one and generating it, I want to show you how this generator works. So you can just paste any sample JSON data and then it will create the specifications for you, area in square kilometers, number, country name, and you can simply save it. That works with any kind of JSON structures. So if I close this and add another one, I've copied some sample JSON data like this one over here with an array, number, object, blah, blah, blah. So if I generate this one, it will specify all the details here. The easiest way is that you simply copy it from wherever for your source and then use the generator and will give you a great starting point for your data structure. And usually you can just use it like this. So sample data structure and then save that one. And it will give you all the fields for your sample data structure to fill in. Like adding array items, adding Boolean, yes or no, null, number, a string, and so on. Going back to the data structures tab inside your Make organization allows you to view all data structures that you've created before, allows you to clone them easily and also edit them. So you can change them here, but be very careful with editing existing data structures that are being used in your scenarios, because if you change them, you might and you will break your active scenarios, and therefore be careful. I'd rather recommend cloning them and then creating a new data structure without changing the original one in case you're using them in active scenarios.